Hey folks, thank you for joining in today. I think we've got quite a few of you already here, so we'll get started. Um, what I'll do is I'll give you a quick introduction of what to expect today and a little bit of a background of our company, and then I'll hand over the mic to my colleague Archit, who has prepared something really exciting for you all to experience today. Um, what I want to talk you guys through very quickly is what is Snaptrude and what we're sort of going for. Uh, a one-liner of Snaptrude is that we are a concept design tool, which is smarter than SketchUp and integrates fully with Revit. When we say smarter than SketchUp, what we mean is that we have built into our tool several automations and intelligent interactions that we believe are personalized to what architects need. When we say we integrate fully with Revit, we mean that whatever you draw on Snaptrude goes 100% parametrically into Revit. And whatever you have in Revit as a model can be brought into Snaptrude 100% visually. So to quickly understand why we're building Snaptrude, firstly, we're all architects in the company. Like our entire product team is built by architects. And we've personally experienced how difficult software in the space can be to use. All our customers today across the world deal with software that just don't talk well to each other. And we've noticed and experienced personally their frustration. Um, so most of all our customers, like almost all our customers, use Snaptrude for one specific thing, which is that when they use Snaptrude, they feel like software can actually make their journey easy. But the specific ways in which they use our software sort of differs as per their needs. And today, what we're going to show you through Archit's efforts is sort of all the kinds of ways that Snaptrude can be used in a project. With that said, I'll hand over the mic to Archit, who can take us through this really exciting session.
Thanks, Advait. Hey there, everyone. My name is Archit, and I'm the product marketer at Snaptrude. Today, we'll be taking up a design challenge to model a high-rise commercial office building within 60 minutes using Snaptrude. So this will give you a sneak peek of Snaptrude's conceptual design capabilities and how you can quickly get from an empty site to BIM with free-form modeling and smart automations. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. So let's get started with an introduction to the project brief and the context. So the project requirement is for a full block commercial office building on New York's Park Avenue. And the total site area is about 2420 square meters. And the total built up area is about 64,000 square meters. So this means that we are looking at a building which is minimum 30 floors tall. With that said, now let's jump into Snaptrude. What I'm going to do is create a new project. And I'm going to import the topography of our site. So what Snaptrude allows you to do is load any topography from anywhere in the world. I'm just going to pick up the coordinates from maps. Then right here, it's going to take me to New York. And it also gives you the option to import with elevation, with surrounding buildings, which I'll check, and a satellite image, which I'll also check. I'm going to zoom into the block right here so that we only get our block and the surrounding buildings. I'm going to click on load. And there we have it. I'm just going to switch to 3D now. And you'll be able to see the imported topography, our site, which is right here in the middle. So now what I'm quickly going to do is align all of this to our origin point right here. And rotate it. And then using the draw tool, I'm going to model an outline of our site, which is 40 meters by 60.5. Just type that in. Yeah. So you can see right now it's created this gray thing, what we call as a space. And in Snaptrude, what you can do is double click on the space and label it something like site, right? So when I label it, it automatically converts it into a site. Let me just quickly set the datum point for this. Yeah, so it's visible better. And what this means is that now this site is actually being calculated in the backend as our site area, right? You can see it pop up right here. I'm going to set the target FAR for the project as 30. Okay. Now let's just zoom out a little bit and do an observation on the actual context. So you can see New York's Park Avenue Road here, which is the main arterial frontage to our site. This is to the west of the site. To the north and south, you have these tertiary roads, which can be the secondary axis for circulation. And to the east here, you have this mid-rise commercial building, which actually blocks blocks views from our site till about 46 meters up, right? So with that being said, I'm quickly going to switch back to the presentation and lay down some brief points or themes regarding the vision for this project, right? So there are three, but in particular, we want to create a landmark building. Since New York is such a historic city with a lot of context, we need to respond to that. Secondly, we want to push the boundaries of workplace design, given that, yeah, we have to respect the historic context, but we also need to be contemporary as per the spirit of the city. And we want to give back public space to the already dense neighborhood and city, right? So these are the three key themes along which we want to explore going forward. So now we're going to jump in to the massing. So what I'm going to do here is go to story 1 and yeah, so here I have this program brief for the first floor. Basically, this has all the area requirements for all spaces which are going to be on the first floor of the project. It has a lobby, a showroom, a restaurant, and the core areas, which will be actually common for throughout as we go vertical, right? I have a count of how many spaces we need and an area per unit as well. And lastly, I have a category color, a hex code that defines what color each space should look like. And what Snaptrude allows you to do is, when I go to import here, I can directly upload all this data as a CSV file. Let me do that real quick. And you'll see that it has imported this much built up area from the CSV file. Let me just turn off the topography so we can see it better. There you go. So all these are now 3D editable spaces right from the CSV file onto the canvas. And this allows me to start my massing or blocking and stacking, whatever you call it, right from the go. So the first thing I want to do is take all these 6 circulation cores. You'll see they have the labels and the areas here as well when you hover over them. And I'm going to set them back towards the east of our site. This is because, like we just saw, there's that mid-rise commercial office building to the east, right, which is anyway blocking the views up till 46 meters. So it'll be good to actually shift all our service cores towards that side. And going forward, we can actually explore a lot of open space towards the west part of the site, right? So what I'm going to do is first bring out the mechanical cores towards either side. And in the middle, I'm going to set my service core, restrooms, and the 2 circulation cores. Select all of these and make sure they're right along the central axis of the site. Okay. Yeah, so doing this will actually allow for a lot of flexible and open spaces along the rest of the site, since we don't have a core right in the middle of the site. And the next thing I want to do is take the lobby space, put it in the middle over here, and we can have the showroom and the restaurant on either side of it, right? Before doing that, I'm quickly just gonna use the edit tool and adjust these areas a bit. Align this here, bring this all the way forward, and now I'm gonna move showroom and the restaurant. Once again, I'll edit these spaces and bring them out by 4 meters. And I'm going to move this by 4 meters as well. Now, what I want to do next is have a circulation area over here next to the service cores. So once again, using the draw tool, using the space, but this time I'm going to use an offset mode, right? So what this does is if I define that my circulation space has to be 3.5 meters wide, and I start drawing, I actually can just draw a line and hit enter, and it creates a space which is offset by 3.5 meters. Do the same on this side, and then using the edit tool, once again, I'm gonna push the showroom and the restaurant spaces back here. Let me label this as passage. And another important use of these labels is that when you actually open your areas chart, and you have all of these different ones that we'll go into, but for now I'm going to select by room. It's going to give me a breakdown of each space on this floor, each room essentially. And what's cool is that as you edit these spaces, the area charts keep getting updated live. So let's say I want to move this back by 4 meters. Keep your eye on the chart. You see it moving? So yeah, there we have our zoning or massing study done for the first floor. Now, there are a few ideas. We could take this entire floor plate up just as it is. But here, let's look at some sketches, which are ideas for how we could go about it. So one thing which we discussed was giving back to the historic context of the city, right? So what we can actually do is respond to the feature called setbacks, which are a characteristic feature of high-rise buildings in New York, where after a certain height, the building seems to step back a little and create a staggering form. We can do this twice. So what that will do is create 3 distinct volumes in the building, and the base will allow us to connect directly with the street. We can have a middle bay, which is a recessed central section, and we can have a final slender formation of premium floors at the top. In terms of space planning, this looks like what we can actually have is on the ground floor, we have all the amenity spaces like the restaurant, the showroom. But as we start planning our office spaces, we can actually have the low-end office spaces in the first bay, the mid-end in the middle bay, and the high-end offices in this top central portion of the building, right? And as we already discussed, the core can be shifted back towards the east side, which doesn't interfere with any of these internal functions. So, oh yeah, one more thing which I missed. This also works in our advantage because we discussed having a 30 to 35 story building. But if we shift these masses back, we're actually going to go taller in height, right? So what that does is it allows us, here's a comparison of the view from the 25th versus the 42nd floor. And do you see it? Do you see the Central Park from there? So yeah, as we go higher, we're going to get a lot better views of the entire New York skyline and Central Park. So let's start doing that, exploring a massing like that. Before that, I'm just going to change the story height here of the first floor to 3.6 meters. Now, when I copy these up, they'll by default have a height of 3.6 meters. Right? And the next thing I'm going to do is select all our core areas. And I'm going to click on Add New Story here. And I'm going to create one clone of these cores. There you go. Now going to the plan of the second floor, I'm going to take my draw tool again, and I'm going to draw a space which basically rests on top of the floor plate below. And this is going to be our office our open office area. It's created a space here. You can also see it in the by-story bar chart over here, the green column. Label this quickly as office block, and I'll give it a color. Say this one. So now what we'll do is, once we have our second floor ready, we're just going to select everything on the second floor using the story selection tool. If I check story 2 here, everything on story 2 gets selected. I'm going to click on add new stories, and I'm going to create 4 copies right here. And now at this 6th story, I'm actually going to explore having that setback, the first setback. So what I'll do is make this mass unique so that I don't end up editing all of them at once. And I'll push this back by 4 meters on these 3 sides which are facing the streets, right? We can have we can actually have glass curtain walls on these 3 sides once we have the entire building ready, so that they'll have ample daylight and views of the street. Right. Now, what I'm also going to do is edit this core area a bit. So these 2 mechanical cores which are at the extreme ends, I'm just going to make both of them unique as well. And again, using the edit tool, push them back. And now I'll copy this floor up once again, just like we did the first story. I'm going to select everything on story 2. I'm going to click on copy. And this time I'm going to copy it by 13 stories. Right? And this is where we'll explore our second setback. So what I'll do is, again, make this one unique, push it in by 4 meters. This time I'll also take the circulation space here, inside by 4 meters. And again, since the profile has gone in, I'm going to edit the core a bit. I'm going to remove one of the circulation cores from here. I'm going to switch this guy here, and we can have one large mechanical core towards one side here. Unique. And I'm going to delete this guy. So that's the profile of the 19th floor. And now we want to copy this up as well, right? This time we're going to do it slightly differently. You see in the areas chart here, we can see the total built up area of around 29,000. What I'll do is I'll select story 19, but then I'll press Control or Command plus the up key on my keyboard. As I do this, it creates a new story every time I do it, right? So I'm just going to keep on spamming that button till we get to 64,000. There you go. Now we have a total height. We have a building with 54 stories now. And this is essentially the massing of our functions. Now the next thing which I want to do is focus on that third theme that we discussed about giving public space back to the city. So wherever now there's a setback, right, we can actually utilize this space here as a terrace and kind of push these volumes back a bit to create some public space. So to do that, I'm just going to make these 2 stories unique. With my edit tool, I'm going to push it back by about halfway. I'm going to take a different color for these. And I'm going to name them as public. So here we get a double story a double height space, which can be like a public space or a garden looking out into the onto the street. What I'll also do is go back to my story number 6 and actually draw out the entire garden area. All I have to do is simply draw a space, double click, and label it garden. So yeah, this actually turns it into a garden. Having these smart labels on Snaptrude is a huge bonus because it automatically assigns properties like the height and the material to it. And later, when we actually want to convert this into BIM, it just does that with one click, right? So I'm going to do the same on the second setback, which is the 19 story. Make these both unique, push them back about halfway, assign a material, label them as public, and create the garden. Yeah, there you have it. That's the outline or the massing study of the entire building. Now, before we get into further detail, let me quickly share this model with my colleague Vibhuti so that she can see the model in real time, leave comments. There you go. Awesome. So now the next thing which you want to do, since this is a skyscraper, I want to focus on detailing the structural frame of this. How is this even going to stand? We know we have the cores to the east of the building pushed back towards one side, but how is the rest of the building going to stand, right? So what I'm thinking is, since we want this entire office space to be columnless or like least interfered by columns, we can have an exoskeleton on the west side of the building, which means that we can have columns all the way outside the facade, not interfering with the interior spaces, right? So what I'm going to do is quickly go back to the ground story, or the first story, how you call it. I'm going to use my draw tool, and this time instead of drawing a space, I'm directly going to draw a column over here. So I'm going to set it to 1.8 by 1.8, the column, and I'm going to copy this by 9.5 meters. I'm going to create 5 copies. And then I'm going to quickly move these to the center. So let me just measure what the distance is over here. It's about 4.4. So I'm going to move all of these to the right by 0.2. I'm going to switch back to 3D. Be able to see these columns out here. What I'm going to do is again take the edit tool and pull them all up. Since they are copies, all of them get edited to the first setback. Now to continue this structural frame up, I'm going to take one of these and hitting the C key on my keyboard, I'm going to copy it up to the floor and I'm going to align it with the facade here. Once again, I'm going to select this and copy it by 9.5. But this time I'm going to create 4 copies. So that's one less. And what we can do is take these guys and move them a bit more towards the right, let's say by half of 9.5, like that. So what this does is it creates sort of a staggering geometry in the structural frame itself. And now I'll push these up as well. Oops, forgot to make them unique. Just a second. 4.75 and push pull up to the second terrace. Now once again, I'm going to copy this up, do the same thing with the topmost part of the building. This time I'm going to check this unique box here so that I don't have to go back, select it again and make it unique. It's already pasted as a unique copy. Paste it here and offset it by 9.5. This time I create 3 copies. Once again, I move them to the middle of the grid below. 4.75 and I use push pull, take them all the way to the top. So now we have the outermost columns or the exoskeleton of the building, but they're still not connected to each other, right? What we want to do is create some kind of junction here for the frame. Just going to zoom in. Yeah. So the way I'm going to do this is create like a Y-shaped column here, or like a forked geometry, which actually connects this like a diagrid, right? So once again, using my draw tool with the column selected, I'm going to create a column right on top of this as an extension. And I'm going to push pull it up till this column height, right? And now I'll align the edges. First along the x-axis, then along the y-axis. While I'm doing this, I'm pressing my left and right arrow keys to lock to that axis. So yeah, that's something what the member would look like. I'm going to press C on my keyboard, copy this somewhere here. And now with this selected, I'm going to press Z or Z. What that's going to do, it's going to flip the object along the Z axis. Put it here. I'm going to select both of these, press C to copy, and then create 4 copies. I think I entered the distance as 4 by mistake. Press tab and then 4. There you go. What I would also like to do is for the end columns, I'd like to have another additional member over here so that all the loads are transferred in a triangulated fashion. So I'm going to create a copy of this right here. And this time I'm going to press X. Take this over here. And I'll do the same on the other side. So yeah, there you go. I'm going to now copy all of these up to the second setback as well. Since the geometry is same, I can just copy these. To this one. So there we have it. The massing study, all the spaces color coded, the areas matching our program brief, and a very fairly good idea of the structural geometry of the structure as well, right? Now I'm going to do something really cool. What I'll do is I'll use Snaptrude's create building tool, which is this awesome automation tool, which creates BIM from spaces, right? So let me show you. go down here. I'm going to select this first bay of spaces that we have, and click on automate. It opens up a dialog box here, or a tab here on the right, which asks me what do I want the walls to be, the slabs to be. So I'm going to select a curtain wall with mullions for the external facades, and brick walls for the internal ones. And I'm going to click on create building. There you go. It's converted the space into a BIM model with curtain walls, slabs, floors, and walls. I'm going to select these ones here and repeat the process. Finally, for the upper floors, the reason why I'm selecting these individually and not all at once is because we don't want curtain walls in our core spaces at the back, right? We want those to be shear walls made of exposed concrete. So we're going to perform the same function with that in a bit. For now, I'm going to select all of these. Once again, curtain walls and brick walls, and hit create building. There we have it. All the curtain walls are in place. Now for the core spaces, what I'll do here is select one space, let's say this mechanical core. I'll click on select similar, so all of them get selected. And then once again, I'm going to go to automate. This time, I'm going to use exposed concrete with a thickness of 0.45, and the internal walls can be shear walls as well, thickness of 0.3. I'm going to click on create building. I'm going to do the same with the other ones as well. Select similar, create building. There you go. I see there are these two spaces in the middle which have not been converted for some reason. Maybe it's some geometry that was interfering. So I'm quickly going to delete both of these and copy these two walls up. Twice.
Find materials.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go around the model once, make sure everything's okay. one last thing which we want to do is create the crown at the top, right? Guys, remember the sketch? This part here at the top. So basically, we're going to extend the shear walls here in the middle to a certain height above the building. So what I'll do is I'll hide these two slabs by hitting H and take one of these walls, press Control Command plus up, and now I'm going to make this unique. I'm going to set this to a thickness of about 1 meter, and since this is on story 55, excuse me, I'm going to go to 55. I'm going to set the height to 18 meters. Now let me copy this twice here to create a balance. And once again, take one of these walls. I want them to taper a little bit at the top. So I'm going to take one of these walls, copy it up, make it unique, and change the thickness to about half of what it was. Once again, hit C, lock along the axis, copy it once, press tab, enter 2 copies. There you go. Now I'm going to hit show or U over here. So it's going to load up all the hidden geometry, the topography surrounding buildings. There you go. That was from an empty site to BIM, a complete BIM model within, how long has it been? 40 minutes? Last but not the least, I'm going to export this to Revit for further documentation. So what I'm going to do is export as a Revit.trude file. I have Revit open here, create a new project. Then I'm going to go to the Snaptrude add-in within Revit over here that can be accessed from the Snaptrude manager. Click on reconcile to Revit, and I'm quickly going to locate my file. Just a second copy. And this process usually takes about 2 to 3 minutes for this scale of a model. So while that is happening, I'm just going to come back to Snaptrude and explore one more cool feature, which is setting views for client presentations. So I'm going to hover about here till where I get a nice 2D perspective of this building. Something like that. Click on views, and I'll save this scene. So this is where all the views get saved in. I can also do a shadow analysis. So I can turn on shadows in the project, and I can set them the way I want. Right now, I think do like a winter low light scene. like this. Once again, hit save scene. You can also try taking a monochrome isometric shot. I do not know what just happened. It seems to be going dark for a reason. I'm not sure why. Let's explore a hidden line view instead. Hidden line be about here and save my view. One more thing which we'll just quickly verify are the project areas. So now if I can show you an efficiency chart, which is basically the carpet area divided by the built up area as a percentage, about 88% efficiency, which is great given the fact that we are giving so much public space back to the city. It's not counted in carpet area. And we can also change the chart to a by-story chart. You can actually see the details of every story and the spaces within those, how much they are contributing to the built-up and the carpet areas. I'll quickly switch to Revit now. There seems to be some errors here with unjoined elements. Be a little patient with this. Come back to Snaptrude. Oh, looks like Vibhuti left some comments. Garden area, yeah, it's a nice one. Material options for the column, sure. You can just go to materials. This can be a steel column, right? Just go to steel. This is brushed silver kind of thing. And since, oh, that does not look good. Maybe we can do a powder coated steel instead. Yeah. Since they're all copies of each other, applying the material to one of them just applies it to all of them. Let's see if yeah, our model is now imported into Revit. Click on close and go to a 3D view. There you go. So this is extremely useful because you get a very high fidelity model exported right into Revit. So you can continue with schematic design, detailed design, documentation. You can go to any floor plan and it'll have all the internal walls, your columns, all of them defined as families, right? So yeah, with that, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to go back to the presentation. I'm sure a lot of you have realized by now which building that this is. It's the 425 Park Avenue in New York by Foster and Partners. All credit to them. And thank you for your time, everyone. I hope this was a fun experience for you. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Arshit. That was very fun to watch for me as well. Is there any questions? We have a 15, 20 minutes at least ahead of us, so we're open to take some questions. Um, and we're also Uzma, could we also share a poll so that people can fill in their interest? So you might see a poll on your screen right now. It's just in case you would like us to do a more thorough exercise with you and your team in a more personalized setting. Please do fill the poll and we'll take our conversation ahead. In the meantime, if anybody has questions, the Zoom chat is open. You can also unmute and ask. I see a lot more questions on Zoom chat. That's amazing. I'm gonna respond to them on text, so that's easier. So for visual display modes, Andrew, for now we have saved views in the product, and we also have our own internal rendering engine. However, we are improving a bunch of these display modes in the next 30 days. We're going to allow easy exports of presentation level drawings, as well as we're integrating with Enscape and another rendering engine. So that should all be built in right away. Although technically right now, since we support a Revit export, the rendering can be built on top of the Revit model that we export. This is actually a good question by Chitra. Archit, would you like to answer this or maybe even showcase something while answering it? It's a question on what are the input requirements, like how are input requirements provided, and how can we use sketches or different briefs? Like how would you use them to draft in Snaptrude? I guess like maybe even showcasing the area program again might help. Chitra, feel free to clarify and add more inputs.
Sure. So let me just create another new project. I'm going to explain this real quick. So the import tab here essentially has all the ways in which you can import your existing information. So the different things are, you could pick up an image or a PDF or a CAD file and trace over it in the traditional way, or you can use some smart automation like the CSV import that we just saw, where you can import any program brief. You can actually head to our website and we released this page a couple of days back. You can go to workflows and go to import program briefs. And here you will find a small video on this entire importing briefs part. And you can also use a sample file to upload it right here. So you'll be able to see the complexity at which this feature works. Right now, I had just imported one floor. But here you can see that it's a pretty large area that we can import right from a CSV file and continue blocking and stacking on Snaptrude. You can also import Revit models. You can import your Revit files straight up. So let's say you have a core and shell model or like a tenant improvement project you want to do. You can import that here. You can continue doing all the interior design on Snaptrude, and then you can export it back to Revit with no data loss, essentially. Does that answer the question?
Thanks, Arshit. So to convert your 3D to BIM is literally, at least in Snaptrude, it's just a single button. Once you've created your masses, Brigitte, you just click on the button, which is inside the Automate tab. I think Arshit is going to jump in and show you as right away. So this is just yeah. Arshit, you want to talk through it? Tough for me to predict what you'll do.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say I can't get enough of using the create building tool, so I'm just going to do it a bit more. Someone was asking if you can create curves, so I'm just going to do that real quick. While drawing, I can switch from L, like the shortcut key L, which is for straight lines, to arcs, which is A. And I can create some arcs. And once I'm done laying out my masses, copying some of them up, maybe I can just select everything, automate, and we had seen glass curtain walls with mullions. Now let's just do plain glass walls and create building. And you can see that it converts these spaces into slabs. And glass curtain walls. So I'm just going to hide this real quick. It also creates floors on top of these slabs and the internal and external walls as well. And all of these elements are parametric in the sense that they all have properties which you can edit from the properties panel. So it's really simple.
Amazing. I think we still have a couple more minutes, so feel free to ask as many questions. What we will also do is whoever has filled the poll and requested for a one-on-one slot, someone from our team will reach out maybe in the next 24 hours and find a slot to help you guys one-on-one. If any of you guys missed to fill the poll earlier and would like us to send the poll again, please do say anything on the room chat and we'll just trigger the poll once again. One last question before we close this. Do you guys think it would be helpful to see different kinds of projects be executed by, I think Archit is probably our best guy for this, but do you think you all would like to see different projects be built on Snapcode? Would seeing different kinds of projects and workflows give you guys more context on what the tool can do? Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. All right. I think the questions have slowed down. So we'll save you guys the last couple of minutes. Thank you so much for being on this webinar. And we really appreciate the time you spent. Oh, for sure. That's a really nice insight, Tanner. Thanks a bunch. I think we can take this up the next time around. And if you've blocked a one-on-one with us, we can also just do it for you personally in the call. Thanks. That's a really nice suggestion. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.